So many of you guys constantly feel stiff, tight, immobile, you're picking up aches and pains and injuries all the time, and you think the answer is that you need to stretch more. Especially you older guys, I see you saying that it's essential that you do your stretching every day, you have your mobility routine and stuff like that. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why you are wasting your time stretching if your goal is to reduce injury risk, become more mobile and stuff like that. And I'll give you a much better way so that you can just spend more time lifting weights and actually get strong without hurting yourself. If you don't have time to watch this entire video and apply the concepts, top link in the description, I'll set you up a training program that requires no stretching, or second link if you just want some good strength training programs to go and follow. So a few years ago, I was that guy who used to stretch all the time, and I had a really long mobility routine. I used to do the foam rolling. Every day that I would get to the gym, my warm-up was literally like 30 to 60 minutes long. I'd go in and I had like a 10-step stretching routine that I had to do. And then even at nighttime before bed, I was like, I need to go through all these stretches and mobility because I've got bad posture and I've got this anterior pelvic tilt and stuff like that. And I used to always look at myself in the mirror like sideways and see this like big curve in my back, this anterior pelvic tilt. And then I realized like, all of that is just made up bullshit that we can't even change or fix, and most of the best athletes in the world have anyway. And yeah, I just hated the stretching because I was doing it all the time and my posture wasn't changing. I didn't feel any less tight because if I did, I wouldn't have to keep stretching every single day. It took away from my training time, and honestly, I just looked like a jackass going in the gym every day and stretching for like an hour while everyone else is training and getting strong. And now, literally, I do like zero stretching, and I mean nothing, and I have not stretched in 5, 6, 7 years, not one stretch at all, because honestly, now I believe after reviewing the research, working with more people, experimenting on myself, that it is a humongous waste of time. I don't think you really get much from it at all, and I'm not saying that you can't stretch, and like always more movement is going to be better than less movement, and there are some use cases for it, and I'll go into that like at the end of the video, but for most of you, I think your time would be far better spent on just better training. So I do not stretch at all right now, and honestly I don't really get injured at all, and I push training very hard. I can squat almost 250 kilos, bench 160, deadlift 300. I don't really get much pain. I get little aches and pains, but no shoulder pain when I bench press, which is pretty rare for a guy who's been training this long. I pick up back tweaks sometimes, but I'm not really in pain very much when I train. And the reason that you guys feel stiff, immobile, and like you need to do mobility all the time is because of your training program. It's not because you need to stretch more. The reason is that you train way too hard, way too intense, way too close to failure. You're always grinding out hard sets. You're basically always carrying this huge layer of fatigue. That fatigue is causing you aches, pains, is causing your muscles to feel stiff and tight, joint pain and stuff like that, because you're never fully recovering between bouts of training. Your body is basically just accumulating stress more quickly than it can recover. That's why your body feels horrible and you feel like you need to stretch all the time. And not to mention, like, if you look at the actual research, like static stretching is pretty useless, to be honest. Like, we have a lot of research and the studies suggest that stretching does not uniquely improve range of motion outside of the stretch you're doing, meaning that if you do a couch stretch for your quads, you might get better at doing the couch stretch, but it won't necessarily improve your ability to do a squat. It doesn't reduce injury risk or pain, it doesn't improve performance, and it costs you a bunch of time. And let's be honest as well, it's boring as fuck. Like, who wants to do all this stretching and foam rolling and stuff like that? But you know what does actually drastically improve range of motion? Lifting weights through a full range of motion. So if you actually think about it, like, lifting weights is stretching, but under load. And you're stretching in a way that is very specific to the exercises you want to improve at. Like, let's say you want to improve your hamstring flexibility. What's going to be more effective? Bending down and touching your toes for 30 seconds, or going in the gym and doing Romanian deadlifts with 4 plates on the bar and getting a really deep stretch? The RDL is probably right. Plus, if you're doing it with the RDL, you're improving your range of motion in the RDL rather than just a random toe touch that no one cares about. So what I would recommend you do is ditch the whole stretching routine initially, or at least scale it back so you can focus more on the training. And like, I know someone's going to comment and say, but oh, you don't understand, like, I have to do my stretching, I'm an older guy, I'm going to get hurt and stuff like that. And my response to that would be, if stretching is so effective and it keeps you so mobile and injury free and stuff, why do you need to keep doing it every single day? Like, surely the effects would last a little bit, and kind of, you wouldn't be needing to top it up every single day or go through like your top-up appointments with your physio and your chiro and stuff like that, right? I would just train better so you don't feel like that all the time. And look, if you enjoy stretching, feel free to add it in, but first, please at least consider my advice about improving your training, right? I'll tell you exactly what to do. And if you just want me to do it for you and you want a better program that doesn't get you beat up and hurt and stiff all the time, again, one of the links in the description. So if I'm telling you not to stretch, what should you actually do instead? Let me tell you how to improve your training so you don't feel like you need to stretch all the time. So thing number one, we need to fix your fatigue management. You're training way too hard, way too close to failure, and you feel beat up and tired all the time. That's why you feel tight and you need to stretch. So I would recommend that first you use some form of auto-regulation. Auto-regulation is basically just a fancy way of saying we need some metric that allows us to adjust training intensity based on how we feel on a given day. So we all know that if you go into the gym after a great night's sleep, loads of caffeine, you're feeling really good, you can tolerate a lot of training. Your preparedness is really high, so we can push things a bit harder. Conversely, if you go in the gym and you feel terrible, you slept poorly, you didn't eat, you had an argument with your wife or something, you might want to scale it back, because if you push really hard against that, you might get hurt or accumulate disproportionate fatigue. So the simplest form of auto-regulation that I like to use is RPE. If you've never used it, it's a 1 through 10 scale. RPE 10 basically means failure. You couldn't do another rep, you couldn't do any more weight. RPE 9 means you had 1 rep in reserve, RPE 8 means you have 2 reps left in reserve, and so on. Basically, this just allows us to adjust the weight on the bar based on the day's preparedness. So for example, I might give you a top single at an RPE 8. On a good day, that might be 100 kilos, bad day, it might be 90 kilos, but it still delivers the same dose of stress, if that makes sense. So this allows us to automatically improve our fatigue management. On top of that, I would also avoid training to failure on the main lifts. Yes, you can scale the intensity up through a block, but I would avoid training to failure so much. I would also stop grinding so many hard, heavy sets all the time. Scale your intensity down into the like 60 to 75% range for your volume work for sets of 4 to 6 reps. So automatically fixing fatigue management, straight away you'll start to notice less aches and pains and less desire or need to stretch. Number 2 that I would do to improve your training so you don't feel like you need to stretch is I would fix your exercise selection. Too many of you are following programs that have you doing only the squat, the bench, the deadlift, and very close variations. Because of that, you're so restricted and so tight because your body doesn't go through many ranges of motion. You're just really hyper-focused on these small group of exercises. Whereas I want you to expand out, include more movements. I would like you to train a wide variety of movements. We can build up a really broad base of skill and range of motion, add in a bunch of accessories for all of the prime movers, and do them through a full range of motion. So things like back work, like rows and pull downs and bicep work and stuff like that, right? All these different accessories, and really put an emphasis on getting like a really deep stretch on every movement you do. Like if you're doing pec flies, you can have a really big stretch. And this is going to improve your range of motion in a way that is specific to the goals you have as well in the gym. So rather than you doing like a wall stretch for your pecs, you could do like really deep pec flies. Not only is it a better stretch, it's specific and it's under load, so it's actually going to improve your range of motion. So tip number 3 that I would give you is I would train your tolerance to vulnerable positions. And what do I mean by that? So this kind of is similar to like the ATG principles, if you've ever heard of those. And I'll use this with a lot of my lifters. So for example, if you've got a muscle group that is constantly tight or is getting injured all the time, let's build some tolerance in a potential like position of weakness. I'll use myself as an example. So I tweak my back fairly often when I push deadlifts really hard, right? So in my own training program, I do Camporini deadlifts. I'll show a video on screen. I also do Jefferson curls because I get hurt quite often in these types of positions. So I will train those positions in a lower threat variant. So deadlift hurts me, so I'll scale it down to like a Jefferson curl or a Camporini, and I'll go through a really long range of motion and build up some tolerance in those positions, rather than just going and doing like a toe touch stretch or some random stretch like that, right? I'll do a lift that mimics the lift that I want to get better at and improve my range of motion at, just with a scaled down version with less weight. we can kind of decrease some fear and perception of injury, and we can also improve our range of motion, our tolerance, and in my opinion this is a much more effective way to do it. So if you've constantly got beat up shoulders or really tight pecs, do some like really deep pec flies, or I really like using McLeod flies. So basically you hold dumbbells here on an incline bench, we lower them, allow them to pull us into external rotation, and then press back up. Because again, instead of doing like a pec stretch, we actually get to build some tolerance under load specific to the movements we want to do, okay? So those would be my top 3 tips, and in my opinion, this will be way more effective than just doing poor strength training and then this really long comprehensive flexibility routine. Most of you probably don't like doing the stretching and the flexibility anyway, let's be honest. So use these 3 tips to actually improve your strength training, and then I'm confident that you won't even need to do the stretching. If you enjoy it and you want to add it on just as like extra, feel free to do so, but you need to solve these major issues first, like your fatigue management, exercise selection, and actually building some tolerance in positions of weakness. If you take anything from this video, I've been there, I've been that guy. Stretching is not the answer to all of your problems. Trust me, better training is. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you want a better program that's not going to have you beat up, one of the links in the description. I'll either write it for you based on your personal weaknesses, or you can just go run one of my templates. If you want a free training program to follow, click here. Any questions or comments, things like that, post them in the comment section down below. Make sure to subscribe for future videos. Thank you so much, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.